Alright, here we go. We got Dream of Eternity and Yin Yang Master, both of the same name, but one is ultimately better than the other.
是一旦建立关系，就是众生是否生死纠纷。此生无悔，侍奉为荣。清明，我还有最后一个办法，让我做你的侍神。
First and foremost, hands down, unanimous, we ultimately think
Dream of Eternity is the better one.
It's the better one, but let's go ahead and compare the two movies one by one. We're gonna do it this way. We're gonna compare the story, the lead characters, the cinematography, the special effects, and the villain, and maybe perhaps the side characters as well. Let's start off with the story. I mean, Dream of Eternity was centralized in terms of it being character driven, right? And that gave us a chance to go through the journey with just a pure focus with the relationship between Qingming and Boya, and then the rest is history.
And it's not that difficult for them to win on this front, even if it wasn't character driven and it was plot driven. If you are plot driven from the angle of a Chinese movie, relatively speaking, you're a winner, because a lot of these movies that we usually or typically see are very convoluted. They have story threads going every which way. Yep. Dream of Eternity was such a breath of fresh air where you could follow the story, you could latch on to what was going on and follow it all the way to the end and be like, I understood that.
And on the other hand, you have Yin Yang Master, who stars Chen Kun, who is one of the best actors in Chinese drama or Chinese entertainment. And then you have the veteran Zhao Jun, who is beautiful and also one of the best actresses in Chinese entertainment. You should have focused the story on them, their love story. It was between Qingming and Bai Ni. Like, there wasn't enough of them. Like, I don't know what happened in this movie making when they're in the process of, like, we have two amazing actors and let's put them in a movie together, but use less of them as much as possible. And that's when it gets convoluted, because there's too many storylines that was going through. Boya was like a throwaway character.
Yes,
like he was an idiot, a bumbling buffoon, and I had no connection with him whatsoever.
And on the flip side, we have Boya and Qingming on Dream of Eternity, where their relationship is just so profound and developed so beautifully in Dream of Eternity that you kind of get this camaraderie between the two. You get to see their dynamic and how their relationship evolves into Boya eventually becoming Qingming's, familiar in that movie. And in this one, I would have to say, admittedly, the best parts of Yin Yang Master are centered around Qingming and Bai Ni. And then when it ventures and it veers off as somewhere else, it's like, where did we go? So the story goes to Dream of Eternity. The lead characters. Now, we already mentioned about Boya, Qingming, and Bai Ni, but let's get deeper into it.
In addition to everything that we just said, of course, Qingming and Boya with Dream of Eternity, their story and their arc was pure focus and centralized, right? Like, it just felt like you were on this journey with them and you were never taken out of it. Like, you stayed with them from the very beginning all the way to the end. And although we said that their relationship kind of felt like it was tacked on towards the end, like they felt like they were supposed to be soulmates, so to speak, their relationship really developed, and it gave you a chance to really create this emotional connection and bond between the both of them. And as we mentioned before with Qingming and Bai Ni for Yin Yang Master, there just wasn't enough of them. You were forced to see different storylines go through, from Boya's to the group
in the burrow, not the burrow.
Yeah, the relationship between Qingming and Bai Ni was largely relegated to the flashbacks that involved the mystery of Simu. And so we didn't get any kind of development just outside of that. It just had everything to do with his disappearance and how they were supposed to learn about the guarding of the Scale Stone. But beyond that, there was no development of their relationship or how they were supposed to be tied together. Unlike Dream of Eternity, where in the very beginning we see that he has a bond with his master, and his master's trying to teach him this protection spell, and he, struggles to do this protection spell, and that's the crux of like the entire movie. Besides the through line plot, is that he learns this protection spell to protect him and Boya.
And then at the end, when he does do the spell, it's magic. It's like wondrous when it happens. It's the biggest protection spell you've ever seen throughout the entire movie. So when it comes to the lead characters, the winner's gonna have to go with Dream of Eternity.
Special effects. I think there's a clear winner here. I don't think we need to go any deeper, but a couple of comments, I guess, about the special effects. The way they did the spells, the way they did the fighting, and the way that they portrayed just the overall mythos of the world. Of course, Dream of Eternity did better because, you know, it goes without saying when you have a clear plot, you don't have to do much in terms of visual effects. We had the story of the serpent and how it broke out and how the guardian statues play a role in keeping it sealed. And then they had the serpent that was released, and we had a huge fight, and we had a whole bunch of spells that are done in between.
Yes, I would agree that Dream of Eternity takes it, but really, like, when I was watching both of these movies, it was almost like a tie, right? Like,
Yeah.
they used special effects really well. The world, the monster world was really cool to see, and that was really nice to enjoy and really think about that there is another world out here that's filled with monsters. And then the Dampeel hand was like really amazing to see too. Seeing it in action versus Qingming and the rest of the people, his familiars and against the monsters, that was amazing to watch. But you cannot deny the big Orochimaru serpents
Yes.
in Dream of
Yes,
Eternity.
yes.
Like, if that didn't exist for Dream of Eternity, I would probably call it a tie. But that climactic end with the big serpent at the end when they were fighting, oh man, that was just like so epic. Beyond epic, and so that's why it's got to go to Dream of Eternity.
Absolutely, and Yin Yang Master does a really good job of the world design because obviously they have the monsters and we have the rabbits and the ferrets and the kappas and just all kinds of mythical folklore-ish creatures that are brought to life, and they actually looked really good. And of course, the final battle, as you mentioned, with the Dampeel hand and with Qingming and his newfound powers, that all looked great and it was all well done. However, you know, when Boya comes down, boom, in his guardian spirit form and fights the villain on top of the huge snake, it's like it kind of like
It makes
goes
everything
back
so much smaller.
because even before that he had the summons where his own guardian spirits, the guy with the paintbrush, the guy with the wings,
Yeah.
and the guy with the sword was all fighting him on the snake as well, and that was pretty incredible as well. But yeah, the breakout moment for me is Boya coming crashing down. It's just like
I know a lot of the things that we're saying is really pointing towards Dream of Eternity as their unanimous victor here, but stick around till the end and we'll tell you what one thing the Yin Yang Master did that was genius. Now let's talk about familiars. For Dream of Eternity, you barely got to know them or you barely get to see them unless they were called upon. But when they were called upon, they came in such an epic way. It was like, they like the circles get drawn, they walk in with their epic poses and they're ready to fight. But for Yin Yang Master, it was really fun to watch all of these familiars. The ferrets, the blue guy, I don't even know what he was called, the blue-eyed the blue...
Oh, the like
The
monkish...
blue psycho,
like, with the
yeah, he
beads.
had like one eye with the beads. He was always like this or something like that. He was super cool. The ferrets were cool, and it was kind of sad. And when we were watching it, when one of the ferrets had to die, you know, that kind of left a twinkle in my eye as well.
Yes,
It was really fun to see the familiars in this fashion. I mean, the lady with the tree coming out of her head, that was really cool when she transformed into a tree. So, you know, if I were going to give anything to Yin Yang Master, I would give familiars to them.
I would actually give it to Yin Yang Master as well. You know, the guardian spirit and familiar thing, it's kind of like a delicate balancing act because I almost feel like that suffered in favor of having a through line story that was
Exactly.
understandable.
Yep.
Because then we're going off to the familiars, we're going off to the guardian spirit stories, and then we're veering off and you know, deviating from a coherent story.
Yeah.
But of course, we have to give it to Yin Yang Master. They made us care about these familiar monsters and these monsters that were not, you know, evil and villainous. They were just there and having a good time and trying to survive.
Yep.
And yes,
Exactly.
When
And
the ferret had to
Yes.
die, I was on the verge of tears.
Yeah, and you know, with Dream of Eternity, when one of their guardian spirits died, we didn't really care.
Yeah, I mean, of course, it was like a heroic moment.
Yeah,
and
it was a
like,
heroic
I'm ready to
moment,
die
yeah.
for you. Blah.
Yeah.
So, on the subject of familiars, Yin Yang Master takes it.
Yay. So let's get to the final part of this comparison, and it's the villains. You know what?
Let me stop you right there. The very clear winner to me is, of course, Dream of Eternity, because like we keep on mentioning this through line narrative that we can follow from the beginning to the end. There's this conflict or there's this issue that needs a resolution, right? It's the Empress that's being controlled or being manipulated by a hidden shadow figure, and that is the villain that we need to, you know, focus on, latch onto, and follow to the end. And it turns out to be this one person, and we knew it was this person, and of course that is the villain. And I don't know how else to say this, but being able to follow this one through line story and seeing the villain revealed in the end and knowing the villain's motivations as well really paints a great picture in terms of what makes a great villain.
I mean, for Dream of Eternity, it was also like the detective work, right?
Yes.
There was a mystery that was happening. There was murders. There was just this mysteriousness that was happening throughout the story that left you on the edge of your seat. You know, you were just clinging to it just to see what was going on. For Yin Yang Master, I did appreciate the storyline with Shimu like being the one villain throughout all of it all, and you know,
But yeah, I mean, it wasn't set up particularly well.
it wasn't set up that well.
They were trying to rob the Scale Stone, then went back to the Snow Lady, and then the stakes, I guess, weren't really developed for Shimu to be revealed.
Even when Shimu was taking Bai Ni out, like I just didn't feel the threat. You know, the threat didn't feel that tangible to me because they didn't focus on the love story between Qingming and Bai Ni, and so his overall threat as the villain, I was just like, well, now he just looks like Kiefer Sutherland from Lost Boys.
Yes.
When he transforms into this like crazy thing, and he's flying all over the place. Yeah, so that kind of took the winds out of the sails for me, and so.
And of course, whenever you're watching a movie like this and there's a reveal of this magnitude, and you just say, "Oh, it was him," and the reaction isn't larger, and you know, then of course something went wrong there, because usually it's like, it was him the entire time, but we were just like, it's Shimu.
It's Shimu. Like, I had
so the villain category goes to Dream of Eternity. So, Flip, what is the one thing that Yin Yang Master did brilliantly?
I thought Big Red was brilliant. I thought it was a genius stroke to have that. You know, you had said while we were watching it was like, oh, it looks like the guy from Moana, or it looks like Maui. And then, you know, he was charismatic. He was very like joyous. Like just watching him interact with everybody, it was like, oh, that's so cool. That's so much fun. I actually had more emotional connection with Big Red. I'm just gonna call it Big Red because I don't remember what they called him.
I think it was the Red Belly Monster.
The Red Belly Monster. Like I had more emotional connection with him, and then when he did his thing at the end where he saved Boya and sacrificed himself falling, and he does this really cool like pose as he's falling to his death.
That was like a Big Hero 6 kind of moment.
I was like, oh, Red. I was like really sad to see him go. And like, if I can give anything to Yin Yang Master, they did so many things well, they did so many things wrong, but all together they were just, it just kind of a splatter on a wall. Big Red was really cool.
So I guess we're giving the category of supporting characters to Yin Yang Master. That'll do it for our comparison of Dream of Eternity and Yin Yang Master. Leave a comment in the section below what your opinion is on who does better, Dream of Eternity or Yin Yang Master, and let us know what you think each category should have went to. Do you agree with us or disagree with us? And of course, if you enjoyed this video, please leave a like, subscribe for more videos, and turn on the bell notification so you know when we post new ones. And as always, we'll see you in the next one.